past weekend Jesus says, where your treasure is, also your heart is there. And where your heart is, that's where your treasure is. So these things are interchangeable. Treasure, heart, and treasure. And so that's kind of true about life, is that somehow we're trying to get to that place of our heart and our treasure. But that's also true here at Homeboy, where you come here and you maybe surrender to your own goodness, and you suddenly are thriving and you're flourishing in knowing the truth of who you are, that you're exactly right. And then you live from that place, from your true self and loving. So I was reading something the other day, and this guy was talking about diving, on Olympic divers. And then he said that that they don't dive from the board, they dive from the pause. That they pause just before they dive. And then they dive. And there's an expression, look before you leap, but leap. And so you leap, and that's what you do. You dive into joy and fullness and life. But you pause. So Homeboy is kind of the pause that refreshes. It's the pause before you dive. And it's a time of reflection, where you just take a time out from, being locked up or addiction or relapse or whatever it is. And so, and that's very important, because you're not going to be able to kind of dive until that happens. So we have lots of stories in our lives of relapses and difficulties where people, maybe on their third try, it takes what it takes, and finally they go, okay, now I can surrender to my own goodness, and I can thrive, I can dive, and I can experience treasure and heart. So many years ago, there was a homie named Caesar who worked in the bakery, and I was in that office, and he came in on his break, and I'd known him a long time. He had a lot of starts and stops, where he'd be working here for a while, and then he'd relapse. He'd be working here for a while, he'd go back to jail. He'd be working here for a while and succumb to the temptation to gangbang again. And so now he's working in the bakery, and he comes in and he has his hairnet on, and he has his apron dusted with flour. And so he is just standing in front of my desk, and he says, I love working in the bakery. I mean, I bake bread. I bring bread home to my family, and they eat the bread that I bake, and it feels proper. And my mom, she's proud of me. And my kids, they're no longer ashamed of me. And then he looks at me and he says, and you know who I have to thank for this job. And I said, well, who? And he looked at me strangely and he said, well, God, of course. That would be God. Yeah. Wait a minute, you thought I was going to say you. I said, oh, no, God's number one. And he says, you are so lucky. We're not living in them Genesis days. And I'm sorry, the Genesis days? He goes, yeah, because God would have had struck down your ass already. And we howled. And it was treasure and heart. It was diving after you've paused. And you look before you leap, but leap. So enjoy the pause of this place, where you can say, yeah, I know what I want. I know what I don't want. And I'm going to dive right in. Treasure and heart and treasure interchange.